Hi, this video is about the open range GoodOne smoker and how I went about hooking up a BBQ Guru to it. And so the first thing I'm going to do is do a quick overview of what the GoodOne is about and how that drove the solution that I have for the BBQ Guru. So the most unique aspect of the GoodOne smoker is the way the firebox moves across the whole front of the smoker. A standard offset smoker will have the firebox that is on one of the ends, and as the fire burns, then the air moves into the cook chamber and then flows through the cook chamber and then out of a stack on the other side. So it's all about air management, and the good smokers do a decent job of that, but you're still going to have one side that can be 50, 75 degrees hotter than the other side. And you can play tricks with it and do tuning plates and manage the airflow, but when it comes down to it, you need an oversized smoker in order to manage the heat difference on it. The GoodOne smoker has the firebox that runs the whole length, and the airflow is designed to come in through one of these spinner valves. So you turn this usually about 2.5 times, and it creates a gap that brings in air into the firebox. You got one on either side of it, and then the firebox, I don't have the grate on the inside right now, but so this is a third generation, and it has a removable ash pan with the grate that you put the fire, get the charcoal on. And the next thing about the GoodOne that is really good and is this baffle control. This moves a baffle that controls the airflow from the firebox into the cook chamber. And the way it does that, if you right here, I'm going to slide this so you can see where this opening goes the whole length of the firebox into the cooking chamber. And so you set it in a position like this, and you'll get, say, around 250 degrees depending on the exact amount of coals you got going. And if you were to slide it a little bit more shut, you would get to 225. And so the air comes up from the firebox, and it goes through the lid, and it will tend to rotate through the cook chamber. And so you get relatively even heating from top to bottom through the way the airflow isn't just simply being channeled out of the smoker. It rotates through the smoker, and it does then go out through the top vent, which is controlled with another spinner valve. So you open that up 1.5 turns or so, and what you're going to have is a draw through the firebox from the spinner, then managed through the baffle into the cook chamber and then out the top spinner. Now, so to recap, the long firebox along the front is a primary feature of the GoodOne, and using the baffle control for controlling the temperature along with the spinner valves. So what a BBQ Guru is about is using a fan. So here I've got a fan hooked up, and I'll give a little bit more details about the plate that I put on here in the adapter. But the idea is to use a temperature probe that you put inside the cook chamber, and here you can see I have it. This is a cable that goes to the controller, and you find a place to clip it on. You don't want to have it in a place where it's going to be touching the meat, because that would fool the temperature probe. And I've got my controller hooked up here, and so the temperature is then regulated through the pulsing of the fan on the that are hooked up to the front vents of this. So I'll show you a little bit more about the design now. So the spinner valve has a 3/8" bolt hooked up to a cutaway in the front of the firebox. And so this is a 3-inch diameter from here to here with a 1-inch plate in the middle. It really is just a cutout wedge on either side, but it has a 1-inch gap here and on the bottom, and it has a 3/8" bolts here, right? So what I needed was a plate that would cover this hole, be able to leverage the bolt for connecting the plate up and then using this hole. So if you go to the BBQ Guru website, you're going to find all sorts of adapters for, let's say, the Big Green Egg, or for the Weber Smoky Mountain, or they also have what they call as a bulkhead adapter. Now the problem with the bulkhead adapter is what they're looking for you to do is to drill a hole in your smoker, let's say in the middle here, and then connect your fan up to that. And so I got a couple problems with that. One of them is I'm drilling a hole in my smoker, and so I don't really like the idea of doing that, and you better get it right, because you don't want to then go tapping additional holes in order to make up for whatever didn't work well. So using the built-in vents has two advantages. One, I'm not modifying my smoker, and secondly, by using two fans, and I happen to have two fans, you can still get the use of the GoodOne firebox by promoting a fire the full length of it. If I put a fan in the middle of this thing, I'm still going to end up with a relative hot spot in the middle that's going to spread through the cookout, from out to the edges, and that really is not getting the best usage of what I'm getting out of the GoodOne. So by getting the Weber Smoky Mountain adapter, which this is the coupler that goes on the outside, then it has a deflector and a connector that goes on the inside. And what you do is you put it on the inside, you poke it out the hole, and it has a little funny wedge hole on the bottom side of that. The idea behind that is as the fan turns on, it's going to blow air into this and then blow the air downward. And so with this setup, I'm going to get air blowing down from here and from this side, and it's going to spread out and create a more even vent than hooking up a single blower. And I will tell you, I've got this working, and it works rock solid. The main trick you have to do in getting it to work well with the GoodOne is working with the baffle. As I mentioned before, that baffle is its main control for temperature, right? So if I was to, say, open it up to where it would maintain a 225, that really wouldn't necessarily allow the BBQ Guru to do the control. So what I've learned is this: as I get my fire going, I get the vents turned on, and what's going to happen is it's going to settle up at a temperature and the fans aren't going to be blowing. And so what I do is I then pull this back until it starts activating my fans. And so in that case, then what I'm looking for is for the fans to be going on about 10% of the time. And when it does 10% of the time, it's going to pulse it. It's going to turn it on, it's going to turn it off, turn it on, and turn it off. And as the temperature feedback comes from the temperature probe, and it's going to adjust those fans. And so I was able to set up a cook, my test cook on it yesterday, where it maintained a 225 temperature for 6 hours. And right now it's about 40 degrees out here, and so that's about what you're going to get with the charcoal in there. You might be able to get a little bit more. I didn't fully load it up, But if you watch that fan, the fan output, as it starts getting near the end of the cook, it's going to start blowing the fan more and more frequently, and that's pretty much your signal that if you're going to do, let's say you're doing a brisket and you need to do more of a 12-hour cook, then that's when you're going to load up more charcoal into it, is when you see that fan working more in order to maintain the temperature. And I'll tell you the other really nice thing about this barbecue grill. You open that lid with the fire going, and it's separate from that cook chamber, and it really doesn't affect the temperature strongly. You can add your coals back in there, and with the digital controller, it's going to reestablish an equilibrium and without a lot of fooling around, and that's the beauty of the system. So that way I'm getting the advantages of the GoodOne, and that being primarily the length of the firebox in proportion to the smoke box, and the nice steady temperature that I get in that smoke chamber coming out of the firebox.